So I'm going to talk about Greek metaphors in the fiscal straitjacket. So, actually, what, 5-7 years ago, I was listening to a talk by the Greek Prime Minister, this one. I'm not going to read it, don't be terrified. And I noticed that there was a metaphor. And I felt really proud of myself because I noticed there was a metaphor. After that, I took the transcript and I went through it to see if there were any more metaphors. And that's what I came to. So the text, the speech was full of metaphors. And here is another talk, it's even bigger. And here are the metaphors in this talk. So I thought that there was something going on. So why did the Prime Minister, addressing the public, use so many metaphors? So the reason is the fiscal straitjacket. So what's the fiscal straitjacket? This is an aggressive fiscal policy. So the concept of the fiscal straitjacket is a general economic principle that suggests strict constraints on government spending and public sector borrowing to limit or regulate the budget deficit over a time period. But why was the fiscal straitjacket such a problem? And why did they have to resort to metaphor? And what does strict constraints on government spending mean? This means job cuts, reduction of wages and pensions, and cuts on health, education, research, and infrastructure. So the Prime Minister had to present the situation to the Greek public in a way that it will make it probably more appealing or get less reactions. So for that reason, we have figurative language, and in particular metaphor. So what we know is that simple metaphors that render complex issues understandable make the issues understandable to the general population, and also make the people feel supportive of these decisions and the actions to be taken. Metaphors create frames, and we know that framing influences how audiences think about issues, not by making aspects of the issue more salient, but by invoking interpretive schemas that influence the interpretation of incoming information. So this is something that we will come later to see again. So these are the 5 talks by the Prime Minister. It's over a period of almost 1 year. And before going on, I want you to draw your attention to the background. So we see as the crisis progresses and things become worse for the country, the backgrounds become darker. So this is not part of the research. I just noticed. So here are some interesting analytics. So in blue you see the total word count of the speeches, and in red you see the word count of the metaphors, the frame, and the frames in the whole context, in their context. And what we can see is that the words devoted to the frames covered approximately more than 50% of the talks. In particular, I examined positive and negative figurative frames in these talks. In order to assign the positive or negative value, I took into account the whole context. So here's an example. We have all inherited, the government and the Greek public, a ship that's ready to sink. If I only focused on the metaphors inherited and the ship, then that would probably be a good thing to inherit a ship. But taking in the whole context, a ship that is going to sink, this is not very good, especially if you are on the ship. So here are some examples of negative metaphors or frames. The storm of problems, we reached such a huge dead end. And some positive, we will get out as winners sooner, because in this fight we will get in stronger. This doesn't make sense to me. And we know the way to Ithaca. And Ithaca is a very strong cultural issue, concept in Greece, because we know, because of the Odyssey. and I realized that it is something important in Liege, because we have an Odyssey theater, and I noticed posters here. So over in the species, there were two prevailing patterns between, in what concerns the positive and the negative metaphors. So the first pattern, the speech starts with negative metaphors, and then goes on with positive metaphors, along with some negative metaphors intervening. The second pattern, we have positive metaphors in the beginning, a few negative, and then again positive. And these two patterns are for all species. So here are some frames created: bad good weather, crime, sinking, ship or ship under repair, an ill, healthy person. The path schema is present everywhere. Sacrifice, a safe harbor or a sea, aim, target, Ithaca, a collapsing structure, strength, success, victory, and freedom. Each metaphor intensifies selected perceptions and ignores others, thereby helping one to concentrate upon desired consequences of favored public policies and helping one to ignore their unwanted, unthinkable, or irrelevant premises and aftermaths. So depending on the frames that the metaphors or the frames that the Prime Minister used, he focused on specific aspects and he left others to the background. So he talked basically about the present situation in 2010, the past situation, the measures, the outcomes, the previous government, the current government, the Greek people, and international creditors. So in each part, he selected specific metaphors in order to bring to the foreground specific aspects. So this interesting thing about the frequencies of the positive and negative frames. So we see that in the second, the third, and the fourth speech, the positive frames significantly outnumber the negative ones. The same is for the other two talks. And in total, the Prime Minister used far more positive metaphors than negative metaphors. And this is interesting because of this. So we see here the progression of positive metaphors. The deeper into the crisis the country was, the more the positive metaphors. So although we would expect the Prime Minister to focus on the negative things that were going to happen, he focused on the positive ones he expected to happen or he hoped to happen. But why the positive frames? So framing also suggests that the same information can be perceived differently depending upon the narrative in which it appears. So this is an example, and it's not only the figurative framing, but there are multiple frames. Our sacrifices served their purpose. Greece avoided the collapse. So we see sacrifices, collapse, and avoid. This is something good, but behind this there is something bad. So let's remove the metaphors. You lost your jobs, the Greek economy has some money left. So there is still a frame, not a figurative one, of course, that the outcomes of people losing their jobs is the positive here of the country still having some money. But let's remove that frame and see what this sentence really means. You lost your jobs, you are poor now. So that's the reality, because people lost their jobs, and the direct consequence for the people is being poor. And let me do something naughty here. So I will add a figurative frame, but a negative one. The monster of recession devoured your jobs, and you were eaten for dessert. So imagine if the talks in the frame of the crisis and under the fiscal straitjacket and the pressure, were framed in terms of negative metaphors. This would instantly trigger a revolt in the people. So did the positive figurative frames succeed? So politics is not a one-man show. There are journalists, opposition parties, the public, and social media. All of them instantly took the frames and they ripped them apart. Greece as a seat was never referred to by the media or the public as being under reconstruction, although the Prime Minister tried to do so, but only as sinking ship. And these are two examples. So were they successful or unsuccessful? They were successful. And the reason is that they managed to limit the reactions and mitigate what was going to happen, or make the announcement of the measures sound a bit better or a bit hopeful. The conclusions. So in the 5 speeches examined, figurative frames were extremely frequent. Metaphor was extensively used to build those frames. The speeches were structured in terms of positive and negative frames. Negative consequences were reframed as positive outcomes. The worse the crisis, the more the positive metaphors. And positive figurative frames significantly outnumbered the negative ones. Thank you.